All right.
So also as to note, like in this hallway, you can also tell there's a little bit of an RNG aspect that it's really like the only obstacle you have to really worry about in Escape is the soldiers getting in your way. You have snakes in the sewers. It just takes like a last second reaction time to kind of decide on what to do with them.
That's kind of the fun part about playing this game, playing the speedrun, is just there's a bunch of different like aspects to the game that, you know, some people are more skilled in one thing than the other. You know, there's like a lot of tricks that we're going to be seeing here. There's just straight execution on like bosses, straight movement execution, but then there's also just that instinct of dealing with particular RNG, because like how are you supposed to react to just a wall of snakes?
Yeah.
And that simpoldood gets a much nicer, less wall of snakes. So.
Yeah, Pika is having to deal with more snakes than Simple, and just that little bit is actually giving Simple a little bit of a boost in to catch up to Pika a little bit.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of one of those things that we're gonna see a lot throughout the run, as these players are like still like synced up a little bit. Is like just even the slightest difference in RNG can affect where some lead changes here and there.
Yep, so that key rat that both Pika and Simple both took out is also like very random. He can go up into that corner and just make you chase him down. He could get right in your way and then just make it really easy for you. Both of them had the same pattern, which was really nice.
Oh, and Simple gets a rat right in the face, opting to grab that blue rupee. We do need rupees along the way, like later on. I don't know if that was intended or if he just wanted that money.
Both of them also got that nice first dialogue skip. Now, usually the second you walk into that door with a switch, Zelda will say, hey, head over to the right. I think we need to pull that switch. If you hold right as you enter that doorway, you can actually skip it, and both of them actually managed to get that. It was really good.
Yeah, it's weird. There are some doors in the game that if you, like, as soon as you enter or as soon as you finish the screen transition, you can hold left or right, and you'll just automatically like walk out the door and start walking to the left or walking to the right. But it's not every door that works that way. There's also some like little time saves along the way. If you see like staircases, like usually the spiral staircases, you'll get a little bit of lag if you, as soon as you leave a staircase, if you start holding down. But if you go left or right at the beginning of that, you actually save a little bit of time. One of the places that you notice it the most, at least for me, because like I kept on asking myself, like, why is this not working? Like, why is this not consistent? Is one of the rooms in T-Rock that if you hold diagonal, you're always going to run into the Anafairy walking down a little stairway.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
hold right and then down, you'll never run into him.
Yeah, that's something that you learn with like trial and error. Like, why do I keep running into this thing? And then you're like, oh, I just need to do a little swerve here.
Yeah, just all these little tiny optimizations.
Yeah, speaking of tiny optimizations, it's hard to really see by the naked eye here, but Pikapals is doing really good what we call pumping through these stairs. It's kind of like you're mashing left and right as you're holding up through the stairs, and it saves frames, but in this case, it actually allows you to bypass that blue soldier right before you enter Eastern without having to stun him or hit him. It's a really, really cool speed tech that's used throughout the run.
Yeah, there's, as well as like stair pumping, there's like wall pumping as well, which is like if you're walking vertically, like you press perpendicular to which side the wall is on. So if you're walking up and there's a wall on the right side, you push against the wall while still holding up, like mashing it really fast. It's, I don't know, for me it's still not as noticeable, but like if I was to do like a side by side, I could probably see it. But you know, I'm gonna trust the people that are good at this game. they're not making stuff up like, yeah, Will, pumping's a thing. Yeah, it's fine.
We're not gonna have a frame counter up and count every single frame.
So. No, not this time. Yeah, it's something as simple as that though. Like the thought of it sounds simple, but when you start trying to incorporate that, it's like really weird to get used to. You actually have to like kind of sometimes hold the controller in a different way just to make it, just to be able to do it comfortably.
Yeah, yeah, that's like yeah, you put it on your lap and then you use your other hand to do it. That's kind of how I do it.
Coming up here for both players, you're going to see a little damage boost off the little popo, the little bag of worms or whatever, which allows you to take a hit from the antifairies that are blocking this switch underneath the pot. Oh, just like that. What allows you to switch. Normally you have to kill all the enemies in the room, but using the iframes from the damage boost iframes, you're allowed to skip doing all that. So it's a little bit of time saver.
We're going to see a ton of deboost iframes in the run, and both of them executed it perfectly.
Yeah, you gotta, like, this is not a dangerous dungeon to be in, but you want to try and still keep as much health as you can, because, like, certain enemies, like the Igors, the green Igors or the red Igors, do a full heart of damage if you get hit by them. And I am guilty of dying in Eastern Palace before. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, that's a little scary. That pot up the top left is a little tricky sometimes to pick up. If you go too high, it just won't let you. And both players kind of getting bamboozled by these enemies. That was close, though.
Yeah.
That Igor is always on a mission up there.
So both runners, you saw them pick up specific pots that have arrows in them, so they can prepare themselves for the Armos fight coming up here. And both of them are looking at a really good arrow count going forward.
Nice work from Pikapals. Get the quick kill. See if Simple can do the same. Ooh, he's gonna have to. He accidentally killed the wrong one, so he's gonna have to use a couple more arrows to finish off the other guy. So the idea is you basically do 2 arrow, like you hit the last Armos Knight with 2 arrows, so that he only takes 1 more to hit. And if you're quick enough, you can actually kill him before he turns into the red phase. Which, when they do that, they get all their health back and require another 3 arrows. So if you do it unoptimally, you'll have to spend like an extra 3 arrows in this situation, but not that much of a time loss. But yeah, other than that, pretty good Eastern Palace from both players.
Yeah,
it looks
really
like
solid.
Pal's gonna be grabbing the rupees from the back of here. Skipping the bombs. Oh, no, he's getting the bombs. Okay. Let's see if Simple does the same thing. I still get Sahasrara's rupees, because...
Yep, same.
Tree poles are It looks like Simple's actually going to be going for that. We'll explain that a little bit more when we get to that point of the run. We'll see that when we're on our way to go get the Master Sword. We still got a couple more dungeons to deal with. Pikapal's not getting the good luck or the correct spacing or whatever to dodge these enemies on the bridge.
Yeah, Simple made his way through there okay, but yeah, this is part of when like really movement optimization becomes key, because you get the boots and you have to do a little bit of traveling. So you'll notice they take specific paths. They'll start doing certain things here just to optimize their movement overall. Yeah, looks like Simple, yeah, I'm gonna try to go for the spin speed there. He was having a little bit of issues, so I said, just forget it, I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah, and see Pikapal's using it on the way back. It's one of those things where it's like, it saves a little bit of time if you get it first try, but if you don't get it first try, maybe try one more time, or just, just go.
There
Last thing you do is sit around and try and set up a spin speed where all of a sudden, like, you've already lost enough time. You just want to go.
It's like 5 seconds later, you're still going.
I really like all the spin speeds in the game. The 3 that you do in that same screen, we'll see it again later on, hopefully, as well as the ones in Death Mountain, they're nice little time saves and helps to avoid like some unfortunate enemy like damage and whatnot.
Yeah, I really like the one in Death Mountain because you have a better chance of avoiding those boulders and dead rocks, all that good stuff.
Yeah, next up on the dungeon list, we're going to be getting another pendant from Desert Palace. It's a pretty straightforward dungeon by itself. It's really all about the boss. The boss of this dungeon is 3 snake-like enemies that have potentially horrible RNG, and can really make a difference in the early game for the run if if one player has a better landmills fight than the other. And partially why we were talking about arrow counts in the last dungeon. You want to use arrows to make this fight easier, so picking up as many arrows as you can, or just retaining as many arrows as you can from Eastern Palace is helpful.
Yeah, they'll be picking up, just like they did in Eastern, specific pots that have arrows under them every single time. And it's routed in a way to where it doesn't waste a whole lot of time to get them.
There is quite a bit. There are quite a few arrow pots in this dungeon. It's almost like they intended you to have arrows for landmolars. Or maybe, well, I mean, there's just a lot of like little item refills in this dungeon. So maybe they just wanted you to be able to stock up on everything you need. Yeah, once again, like something like this dungeon, when you have the boots, it's all about each of the different like room optimizations, so, like particular movements, how far you should run, and the ability to avoid as many bongs as possible helps too.
Yeah, it's like also when to dash, when not to dash, when to move diagonally. There's a ton of stuff that goes into it.
This is also one of the nicer dungeons that enemies just generally don't get in the way, or you usually can dash through all of them. A lot of long hallways makes it a lot easier. Yeah, both players getting pretty good first part of Desert Palace.
Yeah, very smooth from both. Pika's first to get into the second part of... Ooh! Simple went for the most dangerous spin speed of all.
Every time. It's scary because if you go too far, you hop right off the ledge and you got to go through the entire... You have to go through the book cutscene, opening the dungeon again, and go through all that. You'll see a lot of players will pause buffer there and switch to the lamp, since we need to use the lamp in this last room before landmills anyway. So, very risky. You'll also see players potentially go the left side around instead of the right side around.
Yeah.
I tensed up a little bit when I saw that.
Same, yeah. Little scary.
Pikapals moving in the landmolls fight. You're going to see him set up a little bit, switch to arrows, and he's going to try and put as many arrows in these guys as possible. Ooh. Not a very good first cycle, unfortunately. Getting hit right off the bat is not... Makes it a lot harder. It's like once you get hit, and you're just like, it's a free-for-all, I'm just going to shoot arrows everywhere.
Yeah, after that point, it's, shoot arrows in every direction. Each Lamellus takes 4 arrow shots if you get them all with just arrows, and a couple slashes with a fighter sword if you can manage to get a couple arrows in them.
Oh man.
Yeah, Simple's having a really good
wow.
Lamellus fight in this synced finish. Very nice.
Just made up all that time. Yeah, that's... Whew. There's a point in the battle where you have to like just realize I just should use my sword because it's still effective. But yeah, that's one of those really frustrating battles that can easily get away from you. But Simple with the slightly better Lamellus fight. I didn't actually catch how many cycles either of them had. It's really hard to keep up when they're both going at the same time, but...
Yeah, I want to say that Simple may have gotten it in a cycle or two faster, which that's definitely where he got his time saved from, right there.
All right, coming up is going to be one of the next glitches, the fake flipper, which both players are going to use to kind of get a shortcut to head up to Death Mountain. You're going to see them hopefully and carefully hop into the water at just the right pixel to screen transition, roughly around the same time or right afterwards, which tricks the game into thinking that you have the flippers. And Simple's got to be careful there. Oh man, those whirlpools, they have some wonky hitboxes that you're like, come on, man, just go in the hole, like please. But both players making it through unscathed. It's scary because if you get hit while you're in fake flipper, that's when the game will decide to check to see if you have the Moon Pearl and or not the Moon Pearl, sorry, the flippers. Getting ahead of myself. And it'll try and put you back onto the last screen where you enter the water, or something like that. I hope I'm explaining that right. But essentially, if you get hit, it basically softwalks the game. You have to save and quit, which is the only time in this tournament that you're allowed to save and quit.
Yeah, we have unfortunately seen a few in the tournament so far, but yeah, it's just a really scary moment if you get close to that Zora, or he shoots the fireball at you. A number of things can go wrong in fake flippers.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll even get a Zora that just spawns on top of the whirlpool, and you're like, why, dude?
Which is the worst, yeah.
And then, like, you try to avoid them, and you got that balloon enemy that pops, and all of a sudden you got, like, 30 enemies you gotta watch out for. But, anyway, moving on to Death Mountain and on to the next dungeon, Tower of Hera. This is one of those sequences in Death Mountain where spin speed really comes into play, but you gotta be careful. You want to try and have, obviously, as much health as possible, but being at 2 hearts going into Hera is a little scary because there's a lot of enemies in here that do a full heart of damage. Particularly the mini Moldorns or even the tiles in the room that we're going to be getting our big key from. I feel like this dungeon can be a pretty I don't know. There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Absolutely. Number of different things. You can fall down a hole, go down a couple levels or one. You can lose health to the mini Moldorns, the Dodongos. A cornucopia of things could just go terribly wrong.
Speaking of that, unfortunately, simpoldood he grabbed the small key, mirrored out, and then went upstairs.
Oh, no.
So he got it a little backwards. Yeah, you got to go downstairs where Pikapals is right now and get the big key after this annoying tile room. And simpoldood has to be extremely careful because there's a lot of things in here that can easily kill him. And trying to dodge these mini Moldorns are like, they have some really weird movement.
Yeah, they do. And he could opt for a Death Warp. We'll see if he chooses to or not, or just plan to get health like right before Moldorn or something. Which a Death Warp is allowed in a sense to where if it's in a dungeon, it's perfectly okay.
Yeah, but it's basically treated like it's the same thing as using the mirror to mirror out. Just
right, yeah.
Just time loss. I think it'd be a good idea to go for it. And I'm glad that he switched to using Boomerang and other stuff, because just the single slashes were kind of scaring me there. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Should be in the clear here as long as he avoids the Stalfos here.
The other scary thing is we have another bomb jump that you're seeing from Pikapal's side of the screen. And yeah, you need to have a heart to spare in order to do that. So either simpoldood's gonna have to grab that heart that's also in that room, or he's gonna have to like drop down from above to get the big chest without taking damage. So what can you tell us about this boss? Other
than what he just did right there, what he loves to do is push you off the edge like that. Moldorn he looks very random. He does have a certain pattern that he does follow as far as like his movement a little bit, but the path that he takes is random. But like he'll go in a straight line and then turn, and then other stuff like that, and go in a circle. if you think Moldorn's going to push you off the edge, you can kind of like hold out your sword and bonk off his head. Oh, and Simple takes a death there.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate because normally the little spark is attached to the chest and is going around the chest instead. But for some reason, the spark was on the outside of the rim, and Simple was not anticipating that. I noticed that when he first came up there. I was like, oh, that's weird. You don't really see that very often, but that is a very unfortunate way to die in this dungeon.
But yeah, so Pika managed to only fall once, and it was right at the start of the fight. So if you take, or if Moldorn takes any damage and you fall, his health resets. So you have to like start pretty much back over on the fight. He literally fell as soon as he jumped down there. So not a huge time loss, but yeah, that's one of the annoyances that Moldorn can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of times, yeah, like now for Simple, you'll see the spark is on the chest, which is normally what it's supposed to do, so it was weird that he wasn't there. But yeah, a lot of times in the Moldorn fight, you'll see players get to the last phase where he goes into rage mode and starts going really fast and then take a fall, which is, you know, obviously the worst situation because of the health regen. You saw Simple take a fall there. There's like a little window where you can get between that pit and the bumper. I mean, it saves a couple seconds. Yeah, just like that. But if you're too high, you fall in the hole, and if you're too low, you run to the bumper and then get knocked into the hole anyway. Let's see this Moldorn fight for Simple.
Ooh. So yeah, just like that, he was able to kind of negate the falling by kind of just having this little weird rebound you get from like bouncing off Moldorn's head, which is actually the only part of Moldorn that will cause any damage to you.
Nice. Okay, good. Gets through it, doesn't take a fall. Yeah, it was scaring me a little bit when he was like doing the slashes on the side, because usually players will just like hold out your sword when you're like hugging up against the wall. But yeah, that fight is it's a little stressful.
Yeah, a lot of runs go to die in that fight, unfortunately, just because of the sporadic movement of Moldorn.
So over on Pikapals' side, you saw one of the other like obnoxious but kind of hilarious RNG elements in the game is when running through tall grass or running through bushes or slashing through them, you'll sometimes spawn either bombs that are just sitting on the floor that if you run over they explode and do damage, or guards that are hiding in tall grass or bushes. And Pikapals happened to get a guard in a bush. Fortunately, it doesn't affect him too much, though it's nice to have full health going into Aga Tower. It'd be worse for simpoldood because of he's using the tree pulls route, which would you like to explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you saw there, the first tree that Simple just pulled spawned some blue rupees. Now, there are what we call prize packs. Prize packs, the amount of enemies that you kill determine what items you're going to pull from those trees. So, Simple's going to want to kill a certain amount of enemies in the forest here, so that you can pull another tree that'll change the prize pack to red rupees. And this is part of the rupee route that you do if you're not going to get the rupees behind Sahasrara.
Yeah, we saw simpoldood actually get one of those bomb bushes. Thankfully, he did not take damage from it, because at this point, if he was to take damage at all on his way to the tree pull, I think it would reset it and he would get more blue rupees instead.
Yeah, that definitely changes it up a little bit, and then you have to kind of scrounge for rupees before you get the pod, so you can...
Yeah. Now, there is another tree pull right outside of Hyrule Castle. So if he takes damage, he can kill 4 more enemies on his way there and then pull that tree instead. The other backups are just going right back to Sahasrara's hut on the way over to Pod.
Yeah, which isn't really a bad idea if you do end up getting any damage there. So
we also did see Pikapals pick up the mushroom, likely to turn in later to get one of the last safeties that most players. Okay, both players are grabbing it. It's one of the last safeties that most players drop. It allows you to powder the yellow bunny beams that you'll see in the Dark World, as well as the anti-fairies, which turns them into normal fairies that are really nice to have in certain dungeons that tend to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, like arguably, like maybe minus getting the gold sword and silver arrows, probably the most important safety in the game. You also want to grab that mushroom on your way back instead of getting it the first time, because the mushroom will actually respawn, and in case you accidentally run into it, you don't want to pick it up twice.
Yeah.
So Pika had a pretty solid Aga Tower. Not bad at all.
So now comes one of the next RNG elements of this game. You know, you thought Landmolus was bad. You thought Moldrum was bad. Well, now you got Aghanim himself, and the fight is pretty straightforward. He's going to shoot orbs at you that you have to reflect back at him, and 6 orbs will take him down. But sometimes he won't do that. He'll shoot these what we call blue balls, which don't damage him at all and are completely RNG after the first attack. And it's one of the kind of the little run killers in this game, especially like for top 20 runners. Is if you get a lot of blue balls, you're gonna lose a lot of time just to complete random chance. And there's Pikapals getting his first blue ball. We're up to 1. There's 2.
Yeah, there's really nothing worse than being at the mercy of RNG. There's nothing you can do here. Like every blue ball, I think it's like about 5 to 6 second time loss. You just gotta keep going.
Yeah. And the thing is, how Aghanim works is every 4th attack he does like this like the lightning attack, and the more blue balls you get, obviously the more times he does the lightning, so it just keeps on like compounding up on each other. But no, 1 lightning, only 2 blue balls, I think. So really nice Aga, good RNG for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you can probably, it's hard to give an average on how many blue balls you'll get, but you can probably stay around the 3 to 4 blue balls, and that's usually what most runners get. Yeah, unless that's your screed up.
Yeah, you get the sweet 15. I'm frustrated because right now my PB is I'm running against 0.
Oh man,
not fun because it's always in the red. I just got to make the rest of Aga Tower like good, and then I can feel a little bit better about myself.
It's both a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Pikapals will be our first player into the Dark World, finishing out Aga Tower. I usually do the split right at the the sword raise after the text box, so 31-minute Light World is pretty good. Yeah, next up we got Palace of Darkness, which is one of the more I don't know how to explain it. It's a little I don't know. There's a lot of mirroring involved, and there's a lot of small keys you got to get. We do have one of the cooler tricks that's coming up, another bomb jump called the Hammer Jump. Double pixel perfect setup, which allows us to skip a little bit of time. And okay, let's take a look and see how many blue balls simpoldood's going to get in his fight. Well, there's 1. There's also another nice little trick that you could do in the Aga fight to kind of save a little bit of time. Ideally, players want to try and always hit Aghanim towards the center, because he always has to warp between each attack, and on average, shooting him to the center will save time overall. It's kind of hard to hit him into the center when he's like hugging the wall, though. You got to be a little dangerous, but
yeah.
So you don't want to accidentally hit him and get electrocuted and then miss an actual attack. That's never fun.
Yeah, there's also like the weird thing where he can kind of like move to the spot that you're standing in, and the second that he pops up, you take contact damage. It's really rare, but it's also really weird when it happens.
Nice. All right, well, Pikapal's only getting 2, simpoldood getting 3, so simpoldood had to sit through another lightning attack, but 2 and 3 are pretty good. I'd be satisfied with those.
Absolutely. So also, like here in Pod, you'll notice that Pikapals is also picking up a specific number of bombs. He's going to need at least 2 bombs for a trick that's coming up for what we're saying, the hammer jump. And he's also going to need bombs for later on in the run. And Pod is the perfect place to get these bombs that you're going to be needing later on in the game.
That's kind of part of the reason why so much mirroring out is because every time you mirror out, it resets all the pot drops, like all the bombs that are in the pots at the beginning. And in general, I think you could never have too many bombs. But
never can have too many bombs.
Let's see how his hammer jump goes.
He's going for that really nice early bomb setup on the wall. Ooh. Oh, but yeah, looks like he was a pixel off there.
Yeah, it might have been a pixel too low. There are a few ways you could set it up. A lot of players use, I, for one, use the top of Link's head to the ground to set up the first one, and then the bomb shadow with your menu in the second one. It's really hard to explain why or how that works, but a lot of resources that tell you how to do it, but...
Yeah, there are literally multiple ways to, setups or visual cues to do this bomb jump.
All right, there we go. Third time. As long as you get it, then he's still saving time overall. The only thing he's got to worry about, though, is 3 hearts is a little scary. He is going to get 3 more hearts along the way, but unfortunately... Well, I mean, there is another heart he could grab. You want to try and have full health going into the second part of the dungeon, just because it saves a menu when we go downstairs. Yeah, that's the first half of the dungeon, and he's still gonna end up walking away with 9 bombs, which is really nice. Yeah.
So you get 2 free bombs right there, the ones that you just picked up. So there's a guaranteed, no matter what.
And simpoldood's going to be able to make up a little bit of time if he can get that hammer jump on the first try.
This dungeon also requires the use of the bow many times, so you're going to see a lot of arrow drops, pots with arrows under them. It's another good dungeon to stock up on them for stuff you'll use for the rest of the run.
Yeah, this room Pikapals is going into now, if you have full health, then you can just use a sword beam to hit the switch, as opposed to having to switch to the boomerang and then switch back to hammer. So it saves a little bit of time. It's also a little scary going into the fight down a heart, because now he can only take 3 hits from Helmusar King, as opposed to 4 hits if he had full health, since all of Helmus' attacks do 2 hearts each. So he's going to have to be a little careful here. Let's hope for the best. It's one of those fights that either go perfectly, it's another one of those RNG-related things, because sometimes he'll do a fireball attack, spawns these fireballs that kind of get in your way. Just that.
Yeah, he's getting fireballs, which isn't ideal, but you can easily avoid them.
Oh, nice. simpoldood getting it on the first try. And Pikapals having a really nice Helma fight.
Yeah, that was a really, really good Helma fight. Helma, kind of went forward a little bit, so it allowed Pika to get really quick hammer shots and Master Sword hits on him, too. So, yeah, very solid. But Simpol getting that first try bomb jump is going to give him a little bit of a time to catch up.
Another aspect of the game, just to little tiny time saves, is, not only is not taking damage ideal for, staying alive purposes, but it also saves you a little bit of time after the credits when you get your health and magic refilled. If you only have to refill 1 heart, of course, then you spend less time waiting for it to refill, so tiny little time saves. So ideally, you don't want to, clutch it out with half a heart or a heart, but at the same time, it's the little things. simpoldood picking up those 10 arrows in that room. There are still tons of arrow drops along the way throughout the dungeon, and we don't really need arrows until what, Misery Mire?
Yeah, right around Misery is when you'll use a ton of them. Just as you saw Pika taking a few bonks there, it's like another optimization thing that you always want to try to take control of. I think like a bonk's like a second off your time.
Oh
yeah, this turtle room is so not nice. Yeah.
Well, the hammer hitbox, just in general, is really dumb because it's like those 3 turtles were laying upside down right next to each other, and of course it only kills 2 and knocks over the other one. So simpoldood going to be going in the fight. He can still, he's fine. He can still take 3 hits. Well, he can 3 hits and he's down. He's got to be careful, but hopefully he gets some as equally as good RNG as Pikapals did. So far, so good. Ooh, getting fireballs, but nice placement to not get hit by any of that. The fireballs plus the tail swing, taking 0 damage for both these guys. And we also saw that nice little hammer poke from simpoldood to start the second phase.
Yeah, that was really... He noticed that he was about to get bad RNG, so he switched from trying to go for the hammer shots just to sword hits. So that was a really good move there.
And over on Pikapal's side, we did see that other spin speed in the library area that we were talking about. That one's really nice to set up because it allows you to get past all the guards, particularly that extremely fast red guard. It just gives you plenty of time to get through him without having to like interact with him at all, which is really nice. And since both players have the mushroom I think at this point is when you'd flute over to go activate the mushroom, or turn in the mushroom to get the powder, and then use that for the rest of the game. I want to see the spin speed here, though. Come on. Oh. I know we're not supposed to hype up and then get disappointed, but I love that. So, like, basically, you can spin speed off the little stairs to get into the witch's hut, and the easiest way to set it up is you can actually, like, slash your sword to the left and then charge it, turn in the mushroom while you're still charging your sword, and then just, you know, set it up and go. It's not that big of a time save, but it looks really nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like it.
So next up for Pikapals, as well as simpoldood, once he finishes all these overworld fetch quest stuff, is going to be a trip into Thieves Town. Now, by the game's like logic, well, I guess maybe not logic, but this is the 4th dungeon overall. So the enemies kind of get a little bit harder in this dungeon. There's a lot of enemies in here that do 2 hearts of damage. And when you're still sitting at, how many hearts are they at? 8 hearts, you know, 4 hits and you're done. And we're not going to be getting any sort of like mail upgrade. Maybe red mail if necessary, but I highly doubt it. So both players are going to have to be really careful in here.
Yeah,
tendencies to just get in the way.
Yeah, the game is intended this to be your 4th dungeon. So yeah, the enemies do a lot more damage. The game thinks you have a little bit more health and a little bit more weapons at your arsenal. So you just have to take a little bit more of a careful approach in this dungeon. But the reason that we do this dungeon second in the Dark World is so that we can get the Titan's Mitts, which allow us to get to the Temper Sword a little bit faster. This Tempered Sword does a ton of more damage than the Master Sword, and it's going to help out with boss fights, enemies, you name it, for the rest of the run.
Yeah, to a certain degree, it trivializes some of the enemies and bosses in the game. Though we'll have like a higher attack power, our low defense can also like still come into play.
So it looks like Simple is going for a bottle and a fairy here. And yeah, Pika's getting terrible RNG in what we call the Hellway there.
So generally what you can do in that dungeon or in that room is that if you dash straight out from the door and then stop at the right time, like cancel your dash, you can line it up perfectly that you can just dash all the way through the room, avoid everything. We call it the God Pixel, but RNG kind of has to be like on your side for that. There's a lot of enemies in that room that just really want to get in the way.
Yeah, I think whether you walk through it or try to dash through it, it's just a nightmare.
Yeah, I didn't realize that simpoldood did pick up the bottle. The bottle and bug net. But that's still, you know, it's always better to be safe than dead because you lose so much more time dying than you do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Getting some of these safeties.
And having the powder in combination with the bottle and the net, it allows you to catch one of those fairies, and if you do happen to die, you revive. And it's a really good safety to have, you know, just for any situation in this game whatsoever.
Yeah, there's a lot of heavy hitters later on in the game. A lot of bosses will do 4 hearts of damage, and it's you gotta be especially careful not to get hit by them. But after all this, Pikapals is pretty much going to be a Thieves Town ahead at this point. He doesn't have much to do left in Thieves Town as long as he gets a good blind fight, which I'm sure everyone's already heard it 1,000 times by now, that it's a scripted fight, and as long as you stick to the script, everything goes fine. So I'm not going to say that this time. But it is. It's a scripted.
Yeah, it is, and like the most important thing about this fight is there are pretty much 3 different ways you can take damage here. You can take contact damage with blind, you can get hit by the floating head, or you can get hit by the fireball. Ideally, if you are going to take damage, you want to take damage from those little fireballs. They only do, I want to say it's 1 heart of damage,
yeah,
and then
only
everything.
1 heart.
Yeah, and if you take contact damage or get hit by the head, it's 2. And a very good fight from Pika, very good.
It's one of those fights that the sooner it's over, the better. Because as soon as you start letting some of the phases like or the cycles get out of whack, all of a sudden you got blind shooting lasers at you, which also does 2 hearts of damage. Fireballs all over the place.
I totally forgot that was an attack, actually.
Well, usually the fight's so quick you never notice it, but I've had several fights end with a laser to the face because somehow just the sharpshooter known as blind is just keen on those. Yeah, good work from Pikapals overall. Really good Thieves Town, you know, dealing with some of the bad RNG, especially in the Hellway, but getting through without taking minimal damage. If you can get like through this dungeon without taking any damage, it's like an instant gold split, pretty much.
Alright, so the first stop after Thieves, what we're seeing Pika do is head into this doorless hut, and oh wow.
Sorry.
It's okay.
He had it, but there's an enemy just perfectly in the way. It's like he's trying to get the God Pixel too.
Simple almost had that God Pixel as well. But yeah, like I was saying, Pika making that first stop at the doorless hut to get 300 rupees. He's going to be making another stop after he gets the Temper Sword here. And all this is in collection to get some flippers later on, which are so conveniently placed right here in Thieves for us to get.
It's another thing that I really enjoy about this game as a category, you know, just running it, is there's just a very nice balance between overworld and dungeons, with, you know, the occasional like fetch quest or, you know, go here and receive this item to move on to the next thing. So it's nice not always having to worry about like killing enemies, fighting bosses, just like good movement.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that gonna work?
Whoa!
Wow, okay. Usually I do like, I cut it off. So if you mirror right on the doorway, you'll just instantly go inside, like without opening the door or anything like that, which is really hilarious. And as soon as you leave, you immediately mirror back. But I thought he was way too far up for that, but hey.
I thought so. I've never seen it that far up. That was really cool to see.
like Simple's having a pretty decent Thieves Town so far. Going to be going into the fight, potentially with full health. And Sword Beams is another kind of nice thing to have for blind. You know, Sword Beams, it's, you know, first they're sweet, then they're sour. You know, every now and then, they're either like a godsend or they're the worst thing in the game. For this fight, it kind of helps. Sword Beams are really more useful for like the second phase, but it allows you to, if you really want, to just stand really far away from blind and just shoot them with Sword Beams until they go down. Because the nice thing about blind is, blind, regardless of what sword you have, always takes 3 hits per phase, or per cycle, I guess. So it's always going to be 9 hits to take down blind.
There's got to be a little...
Oh my god! That floating head is just about to take him out.
Alright, so as Simple finishes up Thieves here, Pika is making his way through Skull. Now, with Skull Woods, it's one of those dungeons where there's all these separate rooms you can go into. There's the Gibdo room, there's Spike room, etc. You only have to really enter like 2 rooms into this, where you go right in, get the big key, exit, go back, get your fire rod, and then return. It's one of the most straightforward dungeons that you're going to be doing in the run.
Yeah, and the nice thing about that little bomb jump there is it allows you to skip having to fall down in another room, bomb a wall, then pull a lever to like blow up a wall, another bigger wall, and then normally you'd have to go all the way around because, yeah, you'd have. I guess you could mirror out and then walk down, but that bomb jump saves a lot of time. Now, Pikapals, he does have the powder. There is a Bunny Beam later on in the dungeon that he can use to get to full health. I personally prefer to not have full health going into Moth, or at least into that Gibdo room, because a lot of times it's convenient to just hit him into the spikes, and that's kind of hard when you have sword beams.
Yeah, really clean torch room there. Like, you can either take the time to take out every single Gibdo, which they can be a little annoying, but yeah, he chose to leave 1 there, which is still pretty good.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about sword beams, is like for certain enemies they just don't take any sort of knockback, and you need the knockback to knock the Gibdo into the spike unless he can line it up really well. Ooh, that's... Oh, he was just getting rid of the sword beams. It's like, either that was extremely intentional, or it's... So the only downside about that is you miss getting that nice little bonk at the beginning of the fight. We'll see if simpoldood does that. Regardless, really nice moth fight from Pikapals. Both these runners have been having really good boss fights.
Absolutely.
I mean, not all of them have been like the quickest, but still really good.
Yeah, they've been effective. They've been very smart as well, as decisions as to go risky or play it safe. Yeah, they've been making really good moves.
I could actually see either of them getting a PB in this run, especially simpoldood. He's got a lot of room to PB since he's in the he's in the 143 range or something. Oh, nice, getting a little fence dash there.
Fence dash, let's go.
Is that Mutsky on mic? I love that fence dash, except when it bonks, and then it's the worst. Anyway, so simpoldood is going to be heading into Skull Woods. See how that goes for him, while Pikapals is going to be heading on to the next set of overworld movement fetch quest items. He'll be getting not only the flippers from Zora, but getting the Quake medallion from the Catfish on the way to Zora, which will be used later on in the run to get into Turtle Rock, the last dungeon before heading into G-Tower.
Yeah, it's pretty much like the first part of the world tour we do here. We do a little item getting that we're going to need, and then like what I was saying, later on they'll be getting the other medallion and ice rod they'll need for Turtle Rock. So actually the medallion they're getting now is needed for Turtle Rock, and the next medallion they're going to be getting is for Mire. But they just get it now just because it's convenient, because they have to go up and get flippers. all within the routing of the speedrun.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, right after you get the Quake medallion, you mirror, get the flippers, walk back, and there's a whirlpool right there that spawns you right in front of the entrance to our next dungeon. Probably one of the worst dungeons, or the most dangerous dungeons in this tournament so far. I think the most issues the players in this tournament have been in Ice Palace. There's a lot that could go wrong, but we'll see how it goes for our players today. It's our first boss that really does a lot of damage, as well as another nice little, not really, it's not the hardest bomb jump in my opinion, the Ice Palace bomb jump.
It's definitely the bomb jump that things could go wrong very fast if you don't get. You could run out of bombs, you could die. It's definitely one of the more technical bomb jumps you want to get first try, at least.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is like the amount of bombs you have to use leading up to the bomb jump. So, like you go into Ice Palace like, oh man, I got all these bombs, and then by the time you get to the bomb jump, you're like, I have 2.
Yeah.
Simpoldood heading into the second part of Skull Woods. Heading in there with full health, utilizing that powder.
And also, I don't think we explained the key dash either. There are certain doors you can dash into and not bonk or stop, and it depends on your distance to the door. It's like the pixel placement or something. I don't know the actual math behind it, but there are certain doors. Oh, a nasty double warp with Pika. I don't think you meant to do that.
It's just RNG manipulation. That's what they always say, right?
Ah, that's what it was.
That's the joke, right? Well, at least he also did get a really poorly spawned Zora right at the beginning of heading into that whirlpool, but still retaining full health going into Ice Palace, which is ideal for dealing with the second room. Moth fight getting a little out of hand, and Simpoldood clutches it out with one heart.
So clutch.
Woo. That's another fight similar to the blind fight, that the longer you take to get it to finish the fight, the more hectic it gets, more spikes start coming out of the woodworks, and they just love to get in the way. Yeah, for the most part, both players had really good patterns from Mothula as well. He didn't like hide up in the corner or anything like that. So. And here's our first set of bomb usage.
Nice recovery there.
Yeah, if he had been too far to the right with that bomb toss, it would have hit the switch and knocked him out. So then he would have had to gone around and used another bomb to hit the switch, or potentially even the boomerang. But going into the Ice Palace bomb jump with 6 bombs and plenty of health, doesn't have too much to worry about.
Looks like he's using a little bit of like a dash buffer there to make sure he gets on the right pixel, which is a really nifty little strat. You don't see a lot.
It's funny because like for that bomb jump, there is a little bit of breathing room with how close you have to get to the ledge or how you need to move. There are also like, you know, graphs and stuff or graphics that tell you exactly what to do. I think he would have been fine at the first time he got there. He didn't need to move that much closer, but you know, you don't want to mess up the bomb jump. So
yeah,
but he got through.
It comes down to like what method you're most comfortable with as well. So
it looks like Simpoldood's going to be picking up a. Oh, he's going to refill his health. Maybe. Okay, no, he has a fairy in a bottle. I was like, he's not picking up a potion.
Yeah, I think he wanted. He's probably looking to have full health going into Ice Palace.
Pika,
yeah,
going into the boss with full health, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see if he uses. There's a nice little trick that you can do when you have full health going into this boss. Let's see if he utilizes it.
Yeah, this is something I actually did not learn until this tournament.
There it is! He's doing the thing! I mean, it's a little slow, but it gives you some extra fire rod usage, so you don't have to worry about, you know, getting too close to the puffs. And a really nice cold stare fight. A little unorthodox, but we'll take those.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, a lot of us maybe played this game as a kid. You know, we thought we knew everything about this game. And when I first saw that, it was maybe about a couple weeks ago, my mind was completely blown. I did not know that the way that works is you can use sword beams to break that shield, but it has to be like immediately after a fire rod shot. And you basically alternate between each one. And it allows you to have, you usually end up like with a little bit less than half magic, but it does give you a couple extra fire rod shots on Cold Stare, which is always good.
And it's a good, if you still have powder in your route, you might as well go for it if you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm still mad because in my last race, where I messed up Cold Stare, I had powder and I thought, you know what, I should just go ahead and get the refill, and then I could, you know, use sword beam strats. And then I chose not to, and then I messed up Cold Stare. It cost like 3 minutes. So. Alright, good Zora spawns for simpoldood. Also, that's a really nice time for Pikapals. You know, getting the sub 1 hour Ice Palace is a pretty good pace.
Yeah, it's really solid.
But it looks like the next thing he's going to be doing is heading straight into Swamp Palace. There is a slight difference in routing between certain players when they go and get, as Tiza was saying earlier, about going to get the Ice Rod or Ether. Some players do it before going to Swamp. Some players do it after Swamp. There's really no major difference when you do it. Ideally, though, you just want to make sure you have full health going into Mire. And with Swamp Palace being, by the game's order, the second Dark World dungeon, it's a bit of a snooze fest, not gonna lie. It's not too exciting, it's a lot of running around, and especially when you have to go all the way over to the left side to get that big key to go get the hook shot. And then even the fight is pretty, it's pretty slow-paced.
Yeah, I like to use this dungeon as a little bit of a breather. You're an hour into the run. It's a very easy, straightforward dungeon. Allows you to kind of recollect yourself and, you know, just you know, like I said, catch that breather, because there's a lot left to go here.
All right, let's see simpoldood's Ice Palace. Oh, nice little... That was pretty good.
With the hammer dash. Nice.
Fortunately, not quick enough to be able to dodge the fire bar, but still, really nice bomb jump from him. Yeah, with Swamp Palace, it's like you want to use it as the time to kind of like relax, since there's no like real major, you know, glitches or techniques in here. But it's also one of those dungeons that has a lot of enemies that like to just get right in your face, and you still need to like really focus a little, you know, a little bit of your attention to make sure that enemies aren't like running into and you're just taking a ton of like small hits and small bits of damage and losing little bits of time here and there.
Also remembering not to hit this switch here on your way out. It is very important to hit this switch as you're leaving the room in order to get the big key, because there's pegs that actually block your access to the big key. And right there, if you manage to forget to hit it, you have to backtrack all the way to that switch, hit it again, and go back around. And I think all of us have done it at least once or twice.
Mm-hmm. I know, we've seen it twice in the tournament already as well. Let's see this. Oh, is he going for the double spin?
Yo!
He got the double spin. He didn't get the other poke in, and one of the Cold Stare balls got away from him, but still, that was a very clean fight.
Yeah, very, very solid.
And yeah, that's the normal way that you fight. Well, at least the first phase, where you have to unload all of your magic into him. 8 fire out shots to break the ice if you don't have the full health, which is usually how most players deal with the fight. Yeah, for simpoldood, it's going to really start coming down to our later dungeons. Like, there's Meyer, T-Rock, and of course G-Tower Gan and all that stuff. There's still room to get these two runners a little bit closer together. At the moment, Pikapals has about a 4-minute lead on him, just based on the times that they both finished Ice Palace. And another little fun aspect about this tournament is both our players are allowed to watch the restream. They're allowed to watch their opponents, so that they know exactly where they're at, what their opponent's doing, and which is it's exciting because it kind of allows you to like kind of reroute on the fly, or maybe go a little bit risky if you want to try and save some time here or there, or if you see your opponent takes a death, you can play a little bit safer, go a little slower.
Yeah, definitely no harm, no foul in watching the restream. And we see many runners, comment in chat as well. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it looks like Pikapals is going to be pretty much Swamp Palace ahead of simpoldood. Got to hookshot all these little R guys, slash them with the Tempered Sword, and then either 2 spins. Sometimes you'll see use of the Fire Rod on the second phase. But we're just going 2 spins here to take down Argus, and then we're good to go.
Very solid fight.
Yeah.
Basically, you kind of want to you want to lessen the distance between you and Argus and those puffballs, so that there's less time that the hook shot has to fly out and grab it and come back and you hit it again. So the closer the better, but again, that does increase the risk factor. So it definitely does take a little bit of execution there to try to really get that fight as fast as possible.
There hasn't really been any, other than that death in Hera for Simple, there hasn't really been that many major flubs between these two runners. It's been pretty straightforward. And that Hera death was really unfortunate just because of the weird enemy movement.
Yeah.
I kind of want an explanation of why sometimes that happens.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. And he made the attempt to go upstairs without the big key, but I think that was just, just a minor forgetful thing, but nothing major. Could have been playing Key Sanity recently. Maybe that had something to do with it. You never know.
The only thing I know that he plays is, it's not Key Sanity, but it is all keys with the Zelda 2 100% category. Which, it's a lot of fun to watch.
So here, Pikapals is going to go ahead and head up and get the last of the pretty much items that you're going to need to finish the game. He's going to be grabbing the Ether Medallion, and then more than likely we'll probably see him fly over to the 8th warp spot, or the fly spot, and grab that Ice Rod. So then when he finishes with Meyer, he can straight up to T-Rock and be on his way.
And the nice part about doing this after Swamp Palace is that you do have the hook shot, which allows you to use the hook speed, which is similar to the spin speed which we've seen before, but it's a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about charging and releasing a spin at the right time and whatnot. So being able to get through Death Mountain without taking any damage, now he just needs to not get bopped by a crab or run into his own bomb. He's good to go.
Yeah.
And you'll see the reason later on why it's good to have full health going into Meyer. It makes one of the rooms a lot quicker. So far, simpoldood having a pretty good Swamp Palace as well. Nice, use that hammer dash to get through that room. Yeah, for here on out, for Pikapals, it's just a matter of beat dungeon, go to other dungeon, beat dungeon, go to last dungeon.
Try not to die, yeah.
Try not to die. And the damage value increase in these dungeons are ridiculous. You got your whiz robes that do 3 damage if they hit you with their beams. You got the bomb slugs that do 4 damage for some reason. You got Vitreous that does 4 damage if he touches you with any of his eyeballs.
Yeah, and the quick kill for that fight actually requires that you take damage. So yeah, it's definitely one of the riskier dungeons, I would say.
And one of the reasons why I still keep powder.
Same.
Nice. And that's why sword beams are so good in that room. Allows you to take out the whiz robes in the first, like, cycle, pretty much, and then you just gotta clean up the popos to finish it out.
Yeah, the most important whiz robe is the one on the far right there. He's the one that you want to take out first, so ideally you want to kill them before they fade away and then respawn again. You just kill them as quickly as possible because you have to kill all the enemies in that room to proceed.
Simpoldood having a little bit of trouble getting bopped by a bunch of like tiny enemies. Gonna be going to the fight with only 6 hearts, and you know Argus is not a very dangerous boss, but he's still, I think he does 2 hearts of damage if you touch him or the little Argies, so
yeah.
Still gotta be a little bit. Oh, is he doing the? No way.
The madman.
That, man, that's so hard to do. He's gotta be careful though. He's down to 2 hearts. He's gotta take him out before he does that spin phase again. Hold on. He's gonna get the fire out too. Nice.
Nice.
Oh, little dangerous, but that little quick kill at the beginning is so crispy if you can get it, and it's really hard to do.
Yeah,
and it's really hard to maintain.
Very, very. It's a lot harder than it looks, for sure. And yeah, really good kill from Simpoldood.
And the worst part is if you mess it up, you have to like dash again. Otherwise, you don't get your sword or hookshot back.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird. It's kind of like how you set up the spin speed. If you set up the spin speed, and the way you can check to make sure you set it up, same with hook speed, is that you can't slash your sword anymore. So that's why if you mess it up, like you have to. The only way to get rid of that is like to take damage or slash again.
Yeah.
Good movement from Pikapals throughout Misery Mire. Gonna get his Cane of Samaria, which is an item that we use to place blocks on switches, which you'll see coming up in the next room, as well as create these cool little platforms that you're going to be riding on top of in the next dungeon after this, Turtle Rock. But going through, only down 4 hearts, and if you can kill this Wizrobe quick enough... Oh, and another heart drop from the Wizrobe, but he's saying, nah, I'm good. Oh no, Simpoldood dashing for a split second, killing his spin speed. Though it looked like he was doing it to try and avoid getting hit by a boulder, so...
Yeah, I think he noticed he was about to, so he's like, yeah, let me just get rid of this for now. Some also nifty little strats you can do with Samaria blocks, as we're going to see here. Very nice cane dash there. You can kind of item dash with the cane there to have the... Basically, the block will split in 4 directions, up, down, left, and right, and you use the top beam there to hit that switch. Really cool strat. It saves a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's like 2 uses for the cane dash. You could do it after you place a block like that, or you could do it before you place a block, which will actually allow you to dash into the block, because if you bonk into the block, it actually sends it flying. I don't think there's any use of that in this run. I don't think.
There's a really cool one you can do in the Chomp Room in
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Dude, you gotta get the best RNG for that, because those chain chops love to get in the way.
Yeah.
Ooh, laser to the face. He's got plenty of health, so he doesn't have to worry too much. Well, if that laser had hit him, though. That would have been horrible.
Yeah, that would have been it. Yeah, and this is another reason why I think both me and Willard get powder, and a lot of runners do, is for this fight specifically. So you saw Pika take intentional damage from the slime surrounding Vitreous there to do deboost iframes, so he can get right in the middle of those eyes and do tempered sword spin attacks on him. It's almost ideal. Like, if you don't run powder route, you have to have enough health going into that room in order to do it.
Mm-hmm. And if you get hit by some of the eyeballs, because sometimes you just get bad RNG, and you'll get hit by an eyeball and they do 4 hearts of damage. You'll see players will opt to use arrows to kind of clean up the rest of the eyeballs, since each eyeball only takes 3 arrows. But, you know, the worst thing you can do is run out of arrows for the last eyeball. And then you gotta opt to use, like, sword slashes or whatnot to get rid of them.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
Oh, man. simpoldood's getting not the best start to this mire. He got hit by the murder dactyl outside of it, so he had to go in without sword beams, and then those Wizro beans do so much damage. 3 hearts each. He's able to get through the room, but he's out of magic. Fortunately, he doesn't need any magic yet, and there's a full magic refill, but Pikapals is getting dead rocked right at the beginning of Death Mountain.
Oh, no.
The worst thing you could do is get double dead rocked. Good thing he played it patiently, because he wanted to just, like, keep hitting him to get him out of the way, but... Oh my gosh, that boulder's on a mission! It's still got him! What a bully.
Yeah, it's why, like, right there, you can't get spin speed on that last section there, but it's so helpful to have it. Just helps you avoid those boulders in the most worst case scenario.
Alright, good. Fortunately, simpoldood getting good bomb slug RNG. Sometimes that bomb slug likes to just get right up in you, and they do 4 hearts of damage for some reason, which he does have a fairy, so he's fine. I'd love to see simpoldood get through this run without ever having to use that fairy.
Yeah, same. And he was also, you're able to, there's a few items you can use to help you out when you're pushing blocks in this game. So we saw it when they opened up the well to Swamp. You use the mirror on the block, it disappears the block. In Mire, you can actually use that fire rod as you're pushing the block. The fire rod shot will go through the block and hit that torch. It saves a ton of time of having to push 2 blocks, go up to the torch, light it. Really nifty little strat there. I think that's across all versions of the game. I don't think that's a Japanese 1.0 thing also.
Welcome to Turtle Rock, one of the easiest dungeons to die in.
Yes.
There are a lot of things in here that hurt, and Pikapals has to be especially careful. He does have the powder. There are plenty of antifaries and bunny beams in this dungeon to refill your health, but you know, going into this dungeon down 4 hearts from bad Death Mountain Ascension is it's not a comfy place to be. Oh, nice use of the hookshot to get the iframes there to dodge the roller. And it looks like he's going to backtrack through. As opposed, you'll see some players will mirror out if they're not going to do the deboost strat here. Where if you do that room at a certain speed, you know, you can run into one of the rollers intentionally to kind of just run through the second one without taking damage. But we got the probably the worst room in the entire game, the chain chomp room. These guys are adorable, and yeah, I love them.
So many ways you can approach this room.
Nice, safe approach, I'd say.
Simple and effective way. Like, I think there's, what would they do, 4 hearts of damage, 3 hearts, something like that? It's a ton of damage those chain chomps do.
And he moved closer to the switch to hit it, just so he can kind of bait out the chain chomp attack. Because a lot of times, if you like don't time it right, you'll get a chain chomp right to the face while you're trying to push the switch. Most players will like hit the switch in such a way that they stand on top of the crystal, like the blocks that pop up, so that they can push the block and retain iframes from it. But it's completely dependent on how what kind of RNG you get from the chain jumps.
Yeah, absolutely. Like iframes from just the pegs are ideal for sure in that room. All right, so Simple Dude heading into Vitreous here with full health. Let's see how he can manage this one. Switching to arrows right away, so he gets that ready.
It's also got a ton of arrows right now. 23 is really nice to have. Ooh, all right. He does still have the fairies, so he can be a little bit more risky here. But yeah, he was getting... Like, you can only stand inside of the group of eyeballs for so long. You don't have, like, iframes forever. And I feel like those will always take precedence over the goo when your iframes wear out. I wonder what... Wow, that 10 arrow drop. Was that what he was farming for? Or...
If it is, I did not know that, yeah.
What a legend.
Either that or he might have been trying to fishing for a fairy. It's tough to say, but yeah, those arrows are really going to come in handy in GT coming up.
Let's see if he opts to use the safety door, or if he's completely competent in his abilities to do this little skip coming up called the laser skip. You'll see shortly, there's a bunch of the eyeballs that shoot lasers out. We saw them in the pokey key room. Basically, how you can kind of get around them is they only really have a hitbox at the front of the laser. So if you time it correctly, you can kind of just run right around the back side of the laser and not take any damage. But you gotta be careful, because those lasers do 4 hearts of damage as well. And he is going to be using that safety door. I agree with this.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he's watching the restream. He sees how much of a lead he has. He doesn't have to go risky here. And just like that. And even getting around and not taking a hit, so. Now the question is he going to opt to fairy, or powder one of the anti-fairies in here to get full health? Looks like it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a smart move, absolutely. Even though he has that safety exit there, if he does die, he'll spawn at that doorway and not at the beginning of the dungeon. It's still dying to Trinex. It does something to you, man.
Mm-hmm. The nice thing about this fight is if you do take a death or run out of magic, there's always going to be that magic refill right there. So, yeah, you lose time mirroring out, but you know it's not like running out of magic in Ice Palace where you have to go on a huge hunt for magic. Okay, just 5 slashes on the left head, and I think it's only 4 on the right, just because the fire does damage as well.
Yeah, and ideally you want to try to get it before the firehead shoots the ice, but yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Oh, wow. Getting the double spin and the slash whilst standing basically inside of his head. That was really good. He didn't even need that fairy.
No, he took no damage. He was good. So as Pikapals finishes up Trinex and Total Rock, Simple Dude is going to be heading into Total Rock. So they're basically about us dungeons separating each other, but the last dungeon here in Ganon's Tower requires a ton of good execution to properly get through it quickly as possible. So definitely still solid race here.
I'm gonna take a look at the Pikapals is actually leaving T-Rock, or will be leaving T-Rock. Like, looks like it's gonna be like a minute ahead of his PB. I'm looking into the future, that's why. Spoilers. While currently, Simple Dude is only 14 seconds behind his pace. So if he has a good T-Rock, he could still... There's still a chance to PB. There's so much time save in Ganon's Tower. There is so much time save coming up.
Yeah, you got Moldorn, you got the Gauntlet, you name it. There's literally time save everywhere in this dungeon.
Yeah, coming up is Ganon's Tower, which is it's a fun little dungeon. A lot of little individual room optimizations, and leading up to all the Light World boss refights, including Armos, Lamos, Moldorm, and then of course Aghanim himself. Before we get into the Ganon fight, and oh man, Simple is not getting the friendliest of RNG in these two rooms. Sometimes those pokies, if you hit them, normally if you slash them individually, they'll break apart and each of the little orbs will bounce across the room. And even if you go for a spin, you could still knock one of them out. And unfortunately, he got hit by one that ricocheted off, and those do 4 hearts of damage. And then, of course, just barely missing the iframes in the chain chomp room. So I'm going to opt to go ahead and get a safety fairy just to get his health back up. Nice use of boomerangs in these two rooms for Pikapals, getting to them pretty quickly. Yeah, the first part of Ganon's Tower is pretty straightforward. It really just comes down to the gauntlet, and simpoldood, he's got to be careful here. Opting to switch to Fire Rod just to take him out. Ooh. Kind of wanted to see him go for that magic, but just barely dodging that.
Yeah, that laser almost got him. Like, that laser will totally get you as you're entering the door. It's a very nasty, nasty little laser there.
Yeah, that's the thing, is if you get hit by the bunny beam before you kill the pokey and get the small key, then your options are either wait it out or take 4 hearts of damage or take 4 hearts of damage from either of the two bosses. Or take 4 hearts of damage from the laser. Pikapal's going in with 25 arrows, plenty. Into the Ice Armos fight. Let's see if he can get the nice setup. There's a different quick kill setup than we saw in Eastern Palace. Unfortunately, not getting it, but still having plenty of arrows. He's going to grab the 10 arrows here to head into Mimics. It's one of the nice things that this game did, is it gave you magic, or it gave you arrows right after finishing off Ice Armos, just so you can have it for the Mimic Room. And on simpoldood's side, because he ran out of magic, he's not going to have magic to lay a platform down.
I hope he notices before going, but he's gonna go in there and not going to be able to lay that platform down, unfortunately.
There is, which is why when I saw that full magic drop in the Poke Key room, I was hoping he was going to go grab that. There is a small magic decanter in the double Poke room, but unfortunately, I think if he goes back there, he might have to fight the Pokies again. He just needs a tiny bit of magic to lay one platform, and then he'd be good to go.
Yeah, just like one small magic. It's in the bottom left pot here. Oh, the Pokies are gone. Okay, cool.
Okay, good. Unfortunately, a little bit of time lost there, but good on him to be able to route back towards there, as opposed to, some people might panic and just mirror out.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a lot faster than that. And
really nice having just that tiny little bit of game knowledge here and there will save you a few seconds in situations like this.
Yeah, Pika definitely going for that safety fairy right before the gauntlet as well. Definitely going to help him out. He was a little bit on low health, and it has a full magic down there as well, so definitely sets him up good for the gauntlet here.
It's opting to use arrows to get through these rooms, just to try and snipe some of these enemies, which I like. I still use arrows going through the gauntlet.
Yeah,
but it's a lot of RNG. You gotta get lucky to get through the room. But he's gonna move on to the Land Molus 2 fight. Looks like he got the right. Did you see that fire arrow he just shot?
What was that?
Too bad it missed. That was cool.
Ooh, almost got the second Lamellus there with a fire rod shot. It just went like right through him. But yeah, he got the 2 cycle, pretty good. With the fire rod, it only takes 2 fire rod shots to take out each Lamellus, and it's possible to 1 cycle that with the correct placement.
Yeah, on Simple's side, heading into the Trinex fight, he had a really nice, he got that nice cane dash in that switch room. Which is really crisp if you can get it. Going for backdoor strats. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, if you can get behind Trinex quick enough, you can get 4 hits on the Firehead in a single, Ice Rod shot, as opposed to the usual 3 and 2 to finish him off.
Yeah.
And able to get through the fight a little bit quicker before the Ice Head shoots out, ice on the floor and anything. So very nice Trinex fight from him.
Yeah, both of them had really, really good Trinex fights, which can be one of the hardest fights in the game. If you just mess up what you intend to do, or you run out of magic, like there's just so many things that can go wrong in that fight.
Oh, for sure. And it's also one of those things where, the longer you take to finish the fight, the faster the 2 heads are moving, so it's a lot easier to miss your mark. And then running out of magic is like the worst. It's the worst thing you can do in that fight aside from dying. Yeah, Moldorn 2 made easy, just a slash and a spin, or a dash and a spin. Tempered Sword kind of trivializes that fight quite a bit. You just got to make sure not to get knocked into the hole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming up for Pikapals is going to be the Aghanim 2 fight. This fight is very similar, well, pretty similar to the first fight, except now there are 3 of them instead of just the 1. So there's 3 chances of hitting them each phase, and it's still 6 hits to take them down. So it's pretty dependent on what kind of formation you get. This is a really good formation to get. Taking a double there, nice. Oh, and another nice one, as long as he doesn't get the blue ball. Ah, that's fine. As long as the blue ball doesn't hit you first and then just throw off your entire groove. Yeah. Nice triple-double.
Yeah, that was really good. 2-2-2. Cannot complain about that fight at all. I mean, that's another fight that just can be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a good really good 3 cycle there. It's about the best. I mean, you could get a 2 cycle, but it's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Coming up is going to be the final fight of the game, the Ganon fight, and there are 4 phases to Ganon in this one, and it's going to be what we know as the 1-and-1. The first 2 phases you got to hit him 12 times, 12 slashes. Spins also work. Try and keep it down to single cycles each. Nice little trident spin there. This is another fight that does a lot of damage. These Circle of Bats do 4 hearts each, I think. So, yep, there goes 4. Oh, there goes another.
Oh, wow.
This is scary. Pikapals is actually 1 minute and 42 seconds ahead of his PB going into this fight. I would hate to see that all come to the end at this Ganon fight. He's got through the hardest part. It's pretty, the hardest part is usually phase 2 to get through without taking any damage. There's 4 hits here. As long as he doesn't get that many warps, he can be heading into phase 4 pretty quickly. Just gotta hope he gets that torch glitch. I spoke too soon. That's quite a bit of warps. Gets the torch glitch. All right. Just 12 spins. Oh no! Oh, that hurts. Well, at least it was at the beginning of the fight. Well, the beginning of the last phase. Like, the worst is like to take a death, like 11 hits in. But now he's got to do the entire fight over again. And he's already going to be down a few hearts, so let's hope he can get through this again, but without taking any damage. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, he had a rough of the second phase there, and he just took a little bit too much damage, but luckily he did not burn a lot of magic either, so he's got enough magic to do this again.
He's taking a little bit safer this time. Gonna have to do 2 cycles for each phase. But, yeah, a lot of players you'll see will, to try and avoid these fire bats that are flying at him, you can use your hook shot to get some iframes. We saw that in T-Rock with, like, the roller rooms, stuff like that. Yeah, let's to explain the torch glitch and the final phase. Basically, you're not supposed to be able to do that in the game. The game wants you to go to the Pyramid Fairy to get the. I mean, you can get the gold sword, but it's mostly to get the silver arrows. And you saw Ganon turn blue there. Normally, you hit him to turn him blue, and then you shoot him 4 times with the silver arrows to take him out. But with the, if you hit him at just the right time, with a spin, or even I think even a slash, like a tempered slash, also works. You can do damage to Ganon, which is kind of a weird thing. And it takes 12 of these hits to take him down. And looks like he's going to be fine doing that. Just a few more to go. Opting to just stick to Lamp just to be safe. And there he goes. Ganon is dead. Let's just hope that his timer doesn't turn red. That's the last thing we want to see. Oh, dang it. I should have said that. Oh, man.
It was unfortunate. He was looking at a really good PB, but he does get the win on the race against simpoldood with an official speedracing.tv time of a 1:35.04. GG, Pikapals.
GG. Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want to get that tourney win. Yeah, there's nothing greater though than a tourney PB, but that just means he's gonna have a free PB in the future for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. To be on that pace with this run during a tournament race is really good. So you can definitely expect him. He's gonna definitely get that on the next one.
I know when I was watching the groupings, like the group reveals, and I saw Pikapals on there with a 137. I was like, I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah.
Just because I've raced him plenty of times in other game modes, so I'm like, I know he's good. So it's just a matter of sitting down and just playing the game and doing some runs and doing some no reset runs.
Yeah, it definitely takes like multiple runs of this game to get down to that lower time. I mean, it's an hour and a half, relatively hour and a half speed run. So a lot of good things can happen. A lot of bad things can happen. A lot of execution needed. But yeah, just with time, you definitely can get there.
Now, I know Pikapal said he had something going on at 6, so we might want to go ahead and get him in here sooner than later. So we'll go ahead and bring him in right now. Yo, Pikapals, you there? If you are, GG's, my dude. That was a great run. A fortunate ending, but still grabbing that win.
Yeah, thanks.
It's gotta feel pretty good. In general, yeah. I was watching on SRTV. I saw the multi-stream, so I was watching your pace going into the. Or leaving T-Rock and going into the end. But aside from that ending, how'd you feel about the run overall?
It was pretty good in general. Like, I think Lamo's bad, but what else is new?
How many cycles was that? You guys were both at Lamo's at the same time, but
I sure didn't count it. Probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah. It was you guys both actually, you were leading, but you guys actually left the dungeon like a couple seconds apart after that Landmills fight.
Dang.
But simpoldood had an unfortunate death in Tower of Hera. He got a really weird spawn, like the little spark that goes around the big chest?
Yeah.
For some reason, he was going around the outside of the ring, and simpoldood didn't recognize that, and he was at 1 heart, and he got bopped by it.
Yeah, I've seen that before, but yeah, it's really weird when it happens.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, just continuous good routing, movement, execution, really good boss fights throughout. Vitreous got a little scary, but other than that,
Vitreous is really scary.
Yeah, there's just so much damage that could happen. But yeah, it was a really good run for both you guys, and I don't mean to interrupt, but Simple is actually 2 minutes ahead of his PB going into this Ganon fight, so
Nice.
let's cheer him on.
Hopefully he doesn't do the same thing I did when I was 2 minutes ahead.
To that phase 2, just it got a little messy.
Yeah, I was distracted by something and ended up losing count, so I was off by 1. It just kind of ruined everything.
It's unfortunate. Oh, and Simpledude's got to be extremely careful. He's down to 2 hearts, also having a bit of a rough phase 2.
Yeah, I think he still does have that fairy, so if he does, he does take a death here, it's okay. But yeah, he definitely still wants to play it a little bit careful.
And the only extra safety that Simpledude picked up was the bottle and fairy, or bottle and net. You guys both use powder, which I still think is a great item to have.
Yeah, powder's great. Vitreous might have killed me if I hadn't had powder.
Yo, nice. Simple getting that quick spin on Ganon before he even gets to the torch glitch.
Nice. And gets the torch glitch, too. We didn't actually explain it in the first one, but basically both the torches go out at the start of phase 4. But if you can light the torch on the left before the one on the right goes out, then the one on the right just forever stays lit. And then you only ever have to light the one on the left each time. And it makes it so this fight moves a little bit quicker, and if you use the fire rod, sometimes if you get the right movement, if you use the lamp, you can actually get 3 hits on him each phase. Or each lamp cycle, basically. And Simpledude utilizing that fire rod. He's getting some good... Oh gosh, he's got to be careful. These fire bats will do 2 hearts of damage and take him out. He does have that fairy still. I keep forgetting that. Just a couple more. Should be done here. There it is. Nice. Well, that is going to be a pretty big PB for him.
Nice.
We'll see if he wants to get in here as well. But yeah, first NMG race for the tourney. You looking forward to your next 2?
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm going to have to get some practice in so I can fight this Willard guy.
I mean, both my times so far have been 135, so with a missed torch glitch on Ganon and then a missed fire rod shot on Cold Stare, so
yeah.
I think all it takes is 1. It just takes 1 mistake, and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, I'll need you to take one of those deaths on Vitreous next time.
Who dies to Vitreous? Come on, get out of here.
I gotta run, so yeah, GG is Simple.
Hey, GG Pika.
GG, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was a good race.
That was a really good race. Awesome. And for Simpledude to get a really nice PB on this one as well. Let's see if we can get him in here for an interview as well.
Man, how many I hope the admins of this tourney are keeping track of how many tourney PBs we see.
I did mention it was Scrivo or somebody mentioned that they are keeping track of all the tournament PBs, and they're going to make a mention of it once the tournament is over. I got mine last night.
Oh yeah, really? Nice.
Yeah, I got I went from I had a 140 and I went to 137 from last night. So yeah, tons of just tournament PBs everywhere.
And it's looking to me, we might not be able to get an interview from Simple. Looks like he's opting to turn it, which is fine. I guess we'll just congratulate his PB from a distance. But
absolutely,
yeah, really good run, and it's fun to watch. This tournament's been really fun to watch, just because to see all the different skill levels coming together, and we want to cheer for each other. We want to see everyone improve. We want to see everyone get that, what's it, the 130? That's like a good place to be at, a sub 130.
Yeah, the 130 is that's when you start hitting super optimal strats in literally every aspect of this game. So yeah, once you get that 130, you really start getting down to technical stuff. And like even then, there's like a lot of even 130 sub 130 runners, still running through safeties and just random stuff like that. So there's different ways to approach so many aspects of this game. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, like Elminster, I keep bringing him up, but the fact that he has a 130 with gold and silver,
that is beyond amazing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I heard the same thing last night. So yeah, it's really cool that no matter what way you approach the game, as long as you're comfy with whatever you're doing, you start getting better times with each run. That's ideally what you want to aim for.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. That's gonna do it for us here on Speed Gaming 5. Dude, I'm so glad I got to commentate on Speed Gaming 5. The 5. There is over on, I believe, is Speed Gaming 3, another NMG run. If you guys want to head over there and keep watching more Link to the Past. We also have more on that channel starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, and then another one later tonight at 10 p.m. that's going to be on Speed Gaming 1. This was a lot of fun. It was nice commentating with you.
Been an Oliver Willard. Thank you very much.
And if you guys want to support the commentators, the runners, Speed Gaming any way you see fit, please do. This has been a great tournament. I've really enjoyed working for it, watching it, and participating in it, and I look forward to watching the rest of it. Yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Laters.
Bye.